So hey, what's up guys, NPS3D here and welcome back a new tutorial. Basically, the plan is making tutorial at least 10 tutorial in a month, and in the end of this year it will be something like 120. This is the my goal for 2019, but you know it's going to be over the half month and I did not made any one tutorial. But anyways, so the idea came for the tutorial is from Mr. Andrew Kramer sir, who made the new Video Copilot live show trailer, and I hope you did not missed that. It's 21 actually. So let's start the tutorial after this intro, and we will talk the story behind 20 days what I did. So let's get started after this preview and this intro. So originally this video I made into two different parts, one for this sci-fi hardware and one for this glitchy text. And you know about the Andrew Kramer tutorial who made for the advanced glitch, something like that tutorial. So the idea is from there, right? So anyway, so let's get started. So make a new composition or new project, and let's make a new composition. I'm going to 9020 by 1080 and something around 24 frames, and duration should be something around 5 or 10 seconds. So I'm going to with 10 seconds. Hit OK. So create a new solid. Even you can go to the layer new and new solid, and you can rename it to the Animating 3D, because first we are going to create the hard base where our scene is reacting like this. I mean the machinery HUD base. So select the layer and just press Ctrl space bar, bring out the FX console. But if you don't have this plugin, you can also go to the effect and control panel and just type it to the Animating 3D. But I have, it's 100% free. It's also from Andrew Kramer Video Copilot. So you can also go there www.videocopilot.net and you can search to the VC utility plugin FX console. So let's go inside the scene setup. For creating the HUD base, you have to motion design too. So I'm going to choose some models from there. Just let's go to the seals, take components, and let's choose one of them which looks good. This one, right? And we don't want this extra stuff, so what we will do, we'll just press Ctrl and just left click here and just go to the mesh view here, right? And just Ctrl and click here and just hide it, uncheck it, right? Go to a little bit more close and just clean out the area, right? It's fine. So select the model and go to the surface option and check to optimize mesh, because it's bring down the vertices and help you to work a little bit faster. So just check it, right? Now we will create some more stuff on the top, right? Let's go to the beams or something around capsules right here, bionic core, and just choose this one or this one, right? And check optimize mesh and increase the scale and put it above here, around here, or just bring down the rotate, scale properties, or press R and down the scale, or just even you can make it higher. I'm going to something around here. Let's bring another bionic core 3 and scale the size and make it here or here, something around here. So it's good, right? Make sure this is also optimized mesh checked, and select this last one and just duplicate it and just rotate it like this, right? And now we can set these things according to that. Right? So this is good for me now. We can also change all things later, right? So I'm going to remove unused material, right? We can also do texturing a little bit later. Let's hit OK and just bring out the new camera, and I'm going to use something around 50 mm is also good, but let's change it to 24 mm, and we can also change it later if you want, and scale it, right? So you can see a little bit base, right? Now let's create one more composition for our texture, which gonna be a sci-fi lines. So let's rename it to sci-fi lines or something sci-fi stuff, and the height and width should be something around, because I want height something around 200, like these types. Let's new solid, and this is gonna be a fractal noise, because whenever we try to create some energy stuff, that time fractal noise play a big role, right? You know what I am talking about. Let's change it to the invert and block, right? And just change to the transform, uncheck uniform scaling and make it like this, right? And just increase the brightness, decrease the brightness and increase the contrast to make it something like this, right? To make something like this. And now we don't want this glitchy type, right? So we'll just down the complexity to something around 2, right? Something like this. And you can also increase the evaluation. So just click here and go to the very end of the video and just move, like rotate like this, and just check the right. And if you think there is a too much of line, so we can also increase and decrease the brightness, so it will just cut down some lines, right? You can see. And if you think it's not looks good, and actually I did not did this step in my original example, but I remember, so that's why I'm going to include in this tutorial. Here is an option called offset turbulence, so it will give another animation to our texture. So in this one I want this types of, right? So make it like this. Let's check it, right? Looks good, looks good. And we can also change everything, speed, duration and everything. Look, we will also change it later. And let's add a new tint effect, because the tint will work as a color for this. So I'm going to use something around blue, right? Go to the comp 1 and bring out the sci-fi line as a texture. It will be as a texture, right? Go to the Animating 3D, and here is the option called custom layer, custom texture map, and choose our sci-fi lines, right? Go to the scene setup, and now what we will do, just create a new tube model, right? And let's bring down the radius and bring down the height, something around like this, right? And inner radius we will just decrease it, because we just want a thin line, right? Not too much. And we can increase the segment to make this line smooth, right? Because we will do some close-up shot, right? That's why. And again, just select the model and go to the surface option and make sure this is a optimized mesh, right? So now let's go to the transform and just scale it a little bit down. You can also play with the radius, it's work the same. Now let's select the material view and select the material and go to the diffuse section and load our material. this is the sci-fi lens, right? So now you can see it's works the same, right? So go little bit down and just go to the illumination and use diffuse color and increase it to make it little bit more brighter, right? We're gonna play with the Fresnel, and let's go to the environment multiplier and make it 0, right? And glossiness I am going to put 0, right? Let's select the model again and go to the very advanced option, and here is a blend mode. I will choose to additive, right? So now you can see it looks like a glass, right? And you can also play with the opacity, but I am going with 100%. And a few more stuff you have to do, because whenever you will apply ambient occlusion, it will also catch ambient occlusion and shadow, but I don't want. That's why I will change the AO mode to ignore, and also cast shadow ignore, and also receive shadow ignore, right? So this is good. Now let's select the tube model and go to the UV mapping, and here is the UV mapping, right? So we can increase or decrease the texture, right? Tile. So in this one, let me see, and make it like this, one like this, right? And let's duplicate this model again and go to the transform setting and scale it little bit upward, and just duplicate the material, because if you will work on the same material, it will apply on the both. So I am going to duplicate, just right click and duplicate, and just select and drag on top of this material. And let's go to the UV mapping, and now let's make it a little bit smaller, right? You can see. Let's go to the first one and let's play whenever you feel happy. So I'm going with this one, and even you can just down the height like this, you know, and again go to the UV mapping and make it more tile, right? So looks good, right? Let's select some other models and go to the reflection mode and make it to the spherical. And again, if we don't feel good, we can also uncheck or hide this reflection mode, change the reflection mode also in a later, right? Now it's time to add some textures. So I'm using Pro Shaders to go to the metal and choose whatever texture you like. So I want some roughy textures. So basically I want a texture which include more roughness, but you know, just uncheck this rough textures to see the texture correctly. One more step you have to apply for some other model like this take rings. Go to the UV mapping and just tile it to something around 12 to 12, right? Same for this one. Because we want some close up. So I go with this metal, right? Select this metal and adjust some parameters. So glossiness I'm going to down it to make it some reflective, and just adjust the texture to make some highlight and some roughness. Actually you can see here, right? Hit OK, and even you can also play with the brightness and contrast here. Alright, I think looks good. Looks good to me. And you can also play with the normal bump, and here is the environment multiplier. So right now I did not apply any environment, so I'm going to the environment, basic environment backlight 2K, and choose any of these. So I'm going to choose this one, which have some highlight and some shadows area type, I mean the black and white map. So this looks good, and even you can make some more highlight reflection on your model. So you can go to the environment, and here is a UV repeat, so you can also press 2 and 2 like this and hit OK, right? So now you can see. So now let's go to the environment multiplier, right? And even you can, if you want, you can increase it to make your material a little bit more pop up. Even you can go to the environment and just increase the brightness, saturation, whatever, just like a gamma, right? So a lot of possibility to adjust settings inside Element 3D, right? Anyways, if you want to make more fluidity, you can increase it, but I don't want, because it looks good. Even if you want to down, you can just down it something around 8, right? And all setting looks good to me. So let's hit OK, right? And hit caps lock off. Now let's go some close-up shots like this and try to see your model and everything, how it's behaving, right? So looks good to me. So now the next step is for creating the camera animation, right? But first let's go to Element 3D and try to make some animation, right? So go to the Element 3D, go to the scene setup, and I am going to add rotation actually. So I am going to select every model and try to make them in a auxiliary channel number 1. So then if I rotate, every part will be rotated. This is the key to animate every part. And if you want to give them a something random animation, you can choose 2 models in a channel number 1 and less, and another models in a channel number 2 and 3, and give them something different rotation, so it will looks good, right? But let's go hit OK and go to the group 1 particle look, and no need to go to the particle look, just click onto the auxiliary channel number 1. The long story behind the 20 days gap for YouTube is I just set up my whole system in a second office where I can provide you a better quality without making any noise, right? So I hope you are getting full good quality of audio, and I know my audio, I mean my language is not good to explain you well, but I am trying my best, and I know one day I will achieve it, right? So I hope you did not seen many tutorials on my video because of the noise and my audio quality, but I will show you some of these side by side, so you can just check them if you want to learn them, right? So let's move on and let's rotate this. So I'm going to bring out the Y rotation. Now you can see, right? So let's go to the scene setup again, and let's put this in a channel 1 and let's in a channel number 2, and this 2 in a channel number 3 actually, to give them a good rotation. So let's select and go to the very end and make it something around 2. Let's check it, right? You can see, press U and select this both keyframes and go to the keyframe assistant and easy channel number 2 rotation, Y rotation, right? And just make it 1 or maybe -2 to make them in a reverse, right? You can see, looks good. And press U, or even make them a little bit slow, right? So a little bit slow, and looks good. Select these both keyframes again and make them keyframe assistant and easy ease in, and go to the graph editor and you can see them. Looks good. Now for the last, go to the group number 3, rotation, Y rotation, this one. So let's give them a very low rotation, just like this, right? So now you can see some random rotation and looks good. Control S to save it, and make sure to save your project because anything can be happen, so just save it. So now let's add camera animation because everything is set right now. Now we only have to invert the camera. So now let's go to the camera and transform and reset it. Now let's create a new null object and make it to the 3D. And if you did not seen the 3D switches, you can just press F4 or just toggle switches here. So make sure this is 3D. Parent your camera to the null. It's just a simple step, man. You can do it, I know. So now let's go to the very close. So press C on your keyboard and just go to very close and just rotate it like this. Let's go to the null object and rotate it. Right? You know the animation, right? Just press Shift and P to bring out the position and rotation properties at the same time. So let's add a animation. So I'm going to add a P here and go to the something around 2.5 seconds and make it something around here and go to the very first and make it less like here. Alright, let's go to the rotation properties and come over here and let's see how. Just because of rotation it looks fast, right? So go to the element 3D, press U and go to the channel number 3 and make them slower. So come over here and make it 0 and here and just make it 180 or even make it slower, so make it 90%. Right, and for other two also. So I'm going to down it. Right, now it looks good to me actually. Alright, now it looks good to me. Come over here and select your null object and camera and just Control Shift D to cut it and make it to duplicate in the same time. So now let's come over here and select this null and camera 2 and transform and reset and press U and delete all these keyframes and just come over here and again go. Oh shit, man, we just forgetted something to make some duplicate copies, right? So go to the element 3D layer and go to the group 1 and particle replicator and change it to 3D grid. Now we have 3 copies, right? And we want 3 copies actually. Oh no, we have many more copies, so we want only 3 copies in a y direction. So put 1 and 1 here and 3, it will be 3 actually. And for moving this you can also choose this one or even y. So this looks good for me right now, so I'm going with this one. Or make some gap because we will enter the camera in between, right? So looks good. Come over to the camera number 2 and transform and reset it. Press C and bring out here and let's go to the very close up. Check out first because I know I just did it wrong. but anyways, I hope it's good. Control S to save it. Now let's go to the second one and go to little bit close up, something around here, and let's try to this type of close up, right? It also looks good for me, or just this types of close up. Just rotate it, the scene little bit, or just looks good. Press P like this, right? Shift R to rotation. Try to rotate it like this, right? Press P, press add a keyframe on position and also for the Z rotation, and come over to around 5 seconds, and just go to a little bit close up like this, and also for this right, looks good. And select this keyframe and go to the keyframe assistant and easy ease in. Let's check the animation. Actually looks good to me. And now for the last keyframes, right? Press U to see where is the keyframe. Press U and control, select this both, control shift D to duplicate it and cut on the same time, right? And again did the same, transform and reset. So now looks good, right? So let's leave it here, and this looks good, right? Let's move on some next and some more part, right? So go to the Element3D layer, go to some render settings, just like physical environment, and if you want some little bit harder like this, and you can play with the gamma and also play with exposure, and go to the shadows, the ambient occlusion, and enable it and make it to the ray traced ambient occlusion to make your scenes looks more real actually, and increase the contrast 0.5 and the ray trace gamma to 2, and maximum distance something around 145, and almost everything looks good now, right? Control S to save it, right? So now if you want, you can also add some lights to our scene, and if you want, we can also just go to the lightning, the physical environment, and change the lightning to something around blue and whatever you want. So let me show you when it's play a big role. So let's create a new solid, solid and make it for background. So press BZ and bring in a very bottom and just add a gradient ramp and make it to the radial like this, right? Now let's change the color to something around this, right? And this gonna be a black, right? But if you want something around the purple, like Andrew Kramer tutorial, just work, Andrew Kramer work, something like this, right? Actually make it let's try to make it something like this, and go to the Element3D physical environment and make this color to something around this color, and make it some highlight, right? Like this. Hit OK. Now let's add some Now let's add some fog and some smoke element to fill the scene a little bit more, right? So let's import a smoke from Action Essence style 2. So I'm using this smoke element, right? In original example I choose this one, right? So make it here and maybe scale this and try to fill the scene. W to rotate it. It's something like this. W. Something like this. Control S to save this. Now let me show you how you can composite this well. So go to the element 3D layer and Control D to duplicate it. And now this is gonna be a world position because its stick is don't move like G depth, right? So go to the output and make it to the world position. Now let me show you what is the G depth, right? So you know G depth actually move actually. Let me make it something like this, right? You can see this is moving the white area and the black area when the camera goes up and down, you can see. But in the case of world position, it did not move, did not lose their position. So let me show you. I am going to invert it, right, and make it to the expansion actually down, and let's feather this. So now you can see this is not moving, it's stick on the position, right? You can see I'm going to check the feather both sides. Alright, so try to create a map, right? And now let's composite your footage here. Let's go to the very first here and let's adjust the settings according this. So you can also rotate this here, like, right? And now let's press F4 and change it to the Luma Matte, actually Luma Matte, right? And now let's, you can see, right, we composite the smoke element and very well, and it's not move throughout the position, right? You can see. So this is idea to put the smoke here. Now the problem is for this scene the world position is different, and for the other scene the world position should be will be the difference. So what we will do is just duplicate the world position, right? Like here we will just control and select this both and Control Shift D, right, and come over here and we will adjust all things according to this situation. So in this one I want smoke a little bit down, right, like this, little bit down and adjust the position right here, fixed. Control S to save it and come to here and again let's Control Shift do to duplicate it, and for here we will just adjust this smoke and just press R and make it 0 and transform and flip to the vertical, right? You can see. And let's adjust the world position, something like this, and we can also bring down the scale of this. scale it a little bit more. Something around here. Right. Now looks good to me. Control S to save it. So now everything looks good. Now let's adjust some color correction to the smoke. So we start with here. Let's add a tint effect, and let's add some the color of this here, right? And you can also add some cause effect to make it something like this. Also go to the alpha and make it something like this. Control S and select this both and Control C and paste on other two, right? Control V and maybe just off these curves. Control C to copy the tint from here and paste to here. Right? So sometimes it takes more than your imagination. Even you can also scale this to same for this one also. Control S to save it, right? So now it looks good and perfect to me, right? So now what we missed, even we can add some more light, some After Effects light if we want, and if it fits to our scene. So let's put 100 to the ambient occlusion and top of the everything. So I'm going to just off it because I don't want this. New adjustment layer on top of everything, and let's apply some coarse effect. Let's go to the red channel and let's go to the blue channel and bring out some blue here, and go to the green channel and let's add green from the highlight. And even if you want to add some glow, so here is the two-way. So just simply go to the Animating layer and let's duplicate it and solo this and go to the output and make it to the illumination, right? And let's add some glow on here and make the blending mode of this second element ready to additive, right? Unsolo it and let's adjust it. Let's duplicate it. Let's duplicate again. And we can go to the sci-fi lines again and make it to little bit green, which suit to our scene, or make it a little bit white, which looks also good, right? Or let's go here and make it something around green, right? Now let's go to the Element3D glow layer and let's press T to bring down the glow amount a little bit, right? And what we left, actually we left to the fog element, right, which fill the scene little bit more right here. So I think it's little bit a problem, right, actually. So let me fix it. Go to the Animating layer and go to the fog and enable the fog and choose the color, this one, right, and make it harder. Go to the real Element3D, main Element3D, and go to the output and enhance multi-sampling and super sampling 2, or just make it 4, and sampling and aliasing make it to 2. So let's just save it, right? and let's add a glitchy element to in our scene. So now here you can see I just added a glitch, right? So put this glitch till compo 1, right? So compo 1 is here, so put it here, right? And make it to the additive and scale it little bit. Let's try to make them on time, right? Scale down a little bit. And let's add a keyframe on the scale and come over here and make it something around 90%, right? You can see. So now the scene looks good, alright? And let's select all of these and let's pre-compose. Select all of these and pre-compose and make it to the tutorial, alright? And let's add some final touches, just like 8 to 1 stencil alpha, and make a new adjustment layer, and this gonna be our noise, something around 4%. And let's add unsharp marks and make it to 3, and I think everything is good to go, right? And if you think this texture is still very low, we can just go to the tutorial and go to the Animating 3D, actually go to the scene setup and make only increase this texture, right? This one. So I hope this one, right? Go to the UV mapping and make it 24 by 24, actually hit OK, right? So now I hope it's fixed, and you can see looks good to me actually. And any adjustment if you want, you can just go there and change it. So I hope you got the idea, right? So thanks for tuning me till the end of the tutorial, and I hope you got the idea, and I hope you got the concept how I did and how I made it, right? And if you want to learn more things like this, so just visit my YouTube channel. There are a lot of tutorials related to Animating 3D and After Effects. Thanks for watching me, thanks for loving me. I am NPS3D, and we will see you next time with a great tutorial. This is it for now, and we will see you next time with a great tutorial again.